Yeah, I mean, a couple of others might show up. Okay, well, I guess we'll start the meeting then. This is the October Steering Committee meeting. I'm Liz Pello, Director of Information Services here. We'll go around the room and everyone can introduce themselves. That's Leto, Planner, GIS. Jose Allerton, GIS. Alex.
Eric Harrison, IT Administrator, Experience IT Homewood.
First on our agenda is project updates, and that's just where we'll go around and say what's going on. So currently what I've been doing is QAing a lot of the infrastructure data we've got in the past, making sure it's dead on and checking it against aerial imagery and so forth like that. Also, I've been running a lot of street names, property transfers, traffic counts, some right-of-way education data. And then also working on catching the new base maps. In addition to that, the assessor's office a while back released a new batch of assessor's office information for all the parcels. So, however, it's quite messed up where you can't really join it, so I've been cleaning it up so that way they will be joined to the parcels. And then just adding in random data. I've been
I've been working on infrastructure, mainly importing CAD data into ArcMap, georeferencing that data, and basically adjusting that line work. So very time-consuming process, but that's where most of my time has been spent on.
I've been fixing up a lot of infrastructure. Right now I'm working on something called Hill Sanitary. And I'm making a lot of geocoding data and stuff. For example, I'm working on emergency smart crime data right now.
I've been working on a lot of the data requests that we get in through our new kind of work management system. If you guys haven't used that yet, we implemented it a few weeks ago, and some municipalities have been kind of taking advantage of it, and it's working really well. I know Sherry's been using it a couple times, and I think it's just going to make our whole process a little more efficient from the way we were doing it before. So hopefully in the future we'll be able to, from now on we'll be able to track all of our requests and make sure that everything is, at least responded to immediately when someone has an issue, so that we know, who's taking care of the issue and how long it's going to take to get it done. So I think that's going to be helpful for us.
Next thing I just want to go over briefly was all of us went to that conference out in Naperville, and we learned some new things to do with LiDAR and Python. So at some point here, we're going to start making building footprints from the LiDAR. Previously, we've been drawing all that in manually, but we're going to start doing it that way. Another very interesting thing we learned during this event was I went actually to a stormwater GIS class where they talked about the CFS program and low flood insurance for homeowners. And it turns out you can get points deducted from how much the flood insurance would cost just by having a web mapping application such as ours. That's a benefit to all your towns. The other thing I learned, as well as you get additional points, if within the web mapping, it could be in the private portal or the public, having benchmarks either from previous projects you've done or things of that nature. So if any of you guys have, I would say, private benchmarks from previous projects, please get them to me, so I can put it in a private portal. Because if any of you guys decide to pursue the CFS program, I could forward the slide and get that do that to everyone's, since it's a very detailed presentation. So yeah, get the benchmarks to me if you're able that way. If you pursue that program, you'll get the points for it. The next item on the agenda is some additional web mapping functionality that we have in Dennis. You want to?
Sure. Before we go into that, does anyone have any questions or comments? If anyone's been in the webinar lately and seen anything? We've been adding a couple functionality things. Just, people work in the web app and they say, hey, we want to do this, and we're kind of, it's still a working process. So one of the things that we have added is kind of a way to get through all of this data. There's so many things we have now. So what we've added is this little search tool in the layers bar, and you can click on it and you can just start typing in. So like house. So I started typing in HO for housing, and then all the things will start popping up, so I can keep going. And then I can say, okay, I want this one, and it'll bring you right to the data set it's in, and then you can find it right away. So that's nice when people are kind of like, oh, I don't know which data set zoning is in or whatever. You can just start typing in whatever you want, and it'll auto-fill it for you, and then you can go to it, and it'll show you exactly where it is. So you just turn it on, and then you're there. So that's a really useful one. You just have to delete everything. You go back to normal. Get rid of that. Another one is parcel selectors. So up until now, when you were selecting parcels, you had to just choose, you know, if I wanted, everything had to be connected to each other. So I would choose those parcels. But now, if you want to add another parcel to the list that's not connected, you click back and you click this add to selection box, and then you can choose to add another parcel that's not selected in the list. So that's another thing that's really helpful. So if you want to make a list of, you know, unique parcels that aren't necessarily connected, you can do that now. You can add and remove them to the list if you see fit. So that one, let me think about this. I think that was the only other thing that we had added on this one. Well,
Okay, so that was the new functionality. A few other things I want to go over was I sent a survey out a while back pertaining to when the time you take the web map down, because I'm sure as many of you have experienced lately around like 3 p.m. you take it down for 45 minutes or so to have a new data. Unfortunately, you have to do that when you're doing that kind of task. I calculated the results of the survey, and it looks like the time that we'll be doing it now, I'll stagger work hours here, but it looks like it'll be from 7:30 to 8:15 in the morning, and that was the winning time frame. So that's when the web map will be inaccessible when we're swapping out data. So that's that agenda item. The next one, and this does pertain to some of the communities, our DOD CAD project. As many of you know, we received a grant from Cook County. It was a continuation of the previous one from Public Health to do some TOD and COD plan in the Chicago Southland region, and Dennis, you just want to allude a little bit what's going on?
So we had about 12 10 municipalities that were awarded, you know, that we're doing a TOD, COD plan for. I'm trying to think of any areas. I don't think they are. But we're working on pro formas and land use and zoning plans for these municipalities. So hopefully, when our consultant gets back to us, we'll be able to start marketing these sites for future development.
Other than if like there's one here has any data, but it pertains to everyone to add to the map in regards to building permits and things like that.
That's a good case in point, because there is some data that I think is overlooked by a number of municipalities. I think would help you. Building permits is one. For South Chicago Heights, we even mapped who paid their water bills. That way they could determine who didn't. So that's another case in point. And then another one is for Richmond Park. We've actually been mapping crime data. We've been doing this for Midlothian as well. And we have two options there. Essentially, in the case of Midlothian, they wanted it private, so we essentially created another service where they could just see it internally. In the case of Richmond Park, they actually wanted a crime map where it essentially mirrored what the city of Chicago has put out. So I was able to make a little strip down the app of just crime data for them on ArcGIS.com, so that way the end user could just go to that and confuse them. So if anyone else wants to make crime or fire data, just get that to us in spreadsheet format, and that could either be either in private or public.
The same thing like building permits, just get that into your
Yeah.
list of addresses on a spreadsheet, and then you'll input it.
Yeah.
Pull it up.
Yeah.
And then that would just be updated daily when you do your go back to that lead scan.
Yeah, and essentially there's two ways of doing it in the future. Either you can keep doing it in your own system, and then we'll update it whenever you get it to us. Or another way of doing it is just drawing it in manually in the web map, since we have it as an editable feature. Because one of the things that we have in this is we're at roughly any feature class in here, the data can be exported out as a spreadsheet. So whatever comes in can go out. So either way, you can achieve the same end result. And, to get back to your question with building permits, we're currently doing that right now in South Chicago Heights, and, Madison's gonna get their spreadsheet to us, so we should have that up soon, so you could, get what we're aiming at with this. Um, so yeah, yeah, going on. Another thing, this actually affects most people in this room. And Dennis could get a little more into this. I'll just provide a basic overview. Is lately we've been receiving a fairly significant amount of grants from the Department of Natural Resources to be doing green infrastructure, environmental plans, and and so forth. One of the things we've been doing right now is the Midlothian Creek Plan, and that has been a collaborative plan with Midlothian, Robbins, Blue Island, and then Oak Forest. Essentially identifying where green infrastructure opportunities are in just general infrastructure mapping. One of the most recent grants we received though, was one from DNR where essentially we're doing something like the Midlothian Creek Plan, except as applied to the whole like Calumet, watershed, so maybe you could.
Right, so, up until now, we've just been doing this Midlothian Creek, watershed plan, where we're looking at finding maybe 3 or 4 specific projects and looking to implement green infrastructure practices to alleviate stormwater flooding or even floodplain issues. But this new grant is gonna be part of the Millennium Reserve, which is like this big, initiative that, has kind of been publicly addressed just recently, and we're actually going to be looking at green infrastructure projects and a lot of other things in our whole region. So we'll probably be sending out more emails about this in the future, and we're going to be having meetings as well. But we want to start to get communities, public works officials, and people who know of maybe possible green infrastructure projects in their neighborhoods, where we could actually get something going on, because there is money for implementation in these new studies. So it's not just a planning project; there actually will be an implementation part. So we'll find out more about that in the future, but it's all just getting underway now. But there is some opportunities for some green infrastructure projects that I think is pretty neat, because green, no one, we're not like redoing capacity anymore and rebuilding pipes, and it's just a lot of money. So this is a pretty good opportunity to maybe see something happen in your community. So,
Another project I wanted to briefly touch on is the county zoning project. I've mentioned this previously, but that's getting near the end stage. And essentially, what that is a long time ago, the county realized one of the things prohibiting economic development was that a lot of developers and people of that suit didn't really know the zoning of certain areas or the ordinance. So the county has been seeking our help, and we've assisted them in this. They've been collecting essentially zoning data with zoning ordinances to give to them. Now, the nice part about this is that at the end stage of this, and it should be live, I'd say, by the end of the year. As you guys know, we have zoning for all your communities, but if you're curious as to what other ordinances exist or what other zoning exists in the surrounding communities, since we help them, we're actually going to be able to back into the complete zoning data set they created, and you'll be able to see zoning for the entirety of Cook County, but also essentially a 2-mile buffer around Cook County as well. So like in the case of Lamont, it'll have Woodridge, Dairy, and things of that nature in there. And the idea of it through our application is just that they would like zoning data essentially maintained that way. So that way when developers are looking at it, that's truly what is out there. So at the end of the year, the standalone zoning app which they have will be available. However, it's the same thing really as ours. It's essentially another stripped down web map. And then you can update stuff through our web portal, and that's essentially how they would like zoning handled. Another thing I feel I should go over as well too, because now I can actually publicly talk about it, is the Illinois Science Technology Coalition project. what this, includes, I don't know if any of you've been on data.cityofchicago.org or data.cookcountyil.gov, but with a lot of these larger, maybe title website to see what I'm talking about. But with a lot of these larger government agencies, essentially they've created like an open data portal where they can post things pertaining to TIF districts, parks, whatever you like, tabular data that people in the community could download, or even developers, because that's how apps such as Spot Hero and other things like that got created. Illinois Science Technology Coalition, because of all work we've been aggregating through GIS Consortium, they actually chose us as one of 4 recipients across the state of Illinois to get a free grant, essentially, to run our own open data portal. It was announced about a week ago at the IML conference, and we had training yesterday on it. So essentially, what I'm seeking from all communities, and I can take whatever data you advise me, it's in the web app or anything else you may have, so that we could populate this open data portal. As you can see behind me, this is the city of Chicago one. Roughly what we're getting with this grant, it isn't like it, we'll build this and then it'll magically end like after a year. This was a long-term intergovernmental agreement the state of Illinois reached with Socrata, so this thing will be around for years to come. So any data you want, just please get to us, because one of the things that's going to behoove everyone is that November 27th, and we're ironing out a venue, but I believe it's going to be Governor's State. We're actually going to have a developer forum where essentially web application developers and the like can come to that to just go through our data. And with this, they're actually having a competition where for each of the agencies that has this data portal, various developer groups will be developing apps, and whoever is the best one for each group will actually get like a $10,000 prize from ISTC. So we definitely have great potential to get apps that will help everyone here that we won't have to pay for. So that's a good one. But so that they can do that, and we can maybe get some more apps that are useful to everyone. Just please give us whatever data that you want in this thing so that we could build it out. And any data that's in the web app itself, since all that can be exported out as an Excel table, advise me what you want in there so that we can populate it correctly. But if any of you guys want to show up to that, though, that's going to be November 27th, probably about 6 p.m. over at Governor's State.
What's an example of an app that you're talking about?
Well, one example is, I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with the housing tool that the Housing Collaborative developed, where essentially it like grants the fundability of a housing site based on several factors like closeness to parks, things of that nature. I was thinking of essentially doing a similar thing except with economic development sites where the developer wants, let's say, an industrial site that's 10,000 square feet, it ranks it like by closeness to rail lines, streets, things of that nature. Also, some vacant property app as well. I was thinking some similar what City of Chicago ended up getting from their own app competition, which essentially is a vacant property finder. So that way the public and in general citizens, vacant properties were just to keep an eye on. The City of Chicago has been using that fairly successfully. Any other ideas for apps that you would like to target this thing toward? Please get to me, because at that developer forum, we'll be able to communicate what our needs are. And, I mean, it's a great opportunity to get a lot of free work here, so I definitely think we should take advantage of it. So, yeah, so that's the ISTC project.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
Are there any legal guidelines with regard to what data should be shared openly through a portal like this and what should be held back? Do we need to be concerned about that? Or are you guys gonna
I mean,
take
we
care of
wouldn't put
that?
anything
Okay.
without asking for, obviously.
No, I know, I just mean, typically how City of Chicago does it is anything that can be FOIA'd, it's already up on the site so that they can eliminate a lot of that paperwork, so that's their guideline. Okay.
Cause I mean, in the city of Chicago, I'm not advised to do this, but I mean, they even go so far as to post like employee wages and stuff on there, so I mean, it's really, limitless. The only thing I would say that you, don't put on there, which is a given, is just infrastructure data, since, that is, proprietary, but I mean, just about everything else is fair game, so. And I mean, if you wanna look at just examples of what I think are good things to put on this. I would say of all the data portals that exist, go to the city of Chicago one, because they actually populated the best out of any around here. So that's a good starting point as to where we can go with this. And the nice thing about our this data portal is that we'll be able to federate it with the county one. The county has a data portal as well, and what that means is essentially when people are looking for data in our portal, if results sound similar to something that county has, it'll also show up there as well. So you'll be able to pull in a lot of different data from here, and I think it will help everyone. So it's quite a bit of an exciting project, and I definitely hope some people can show up on the 27th for that. The next thing I wanted to briefly go over, and I've been mentioning this for a while, is our base maps. Yeah, I've been mentioning this for a long while, because the way it works is usually Cook County releases new aerial imagery for previous years. So now it would be 2011 for Cook, DuPage, Will, Grundy, Lake, Henry, the whole area. This year they were a little late in doing that. We finally did get it in October. So what we're doing right now is we're recatching and making new iterations of base maps for 2011, the hybrid, the streets, the aerial one. And I would say right now we're about halfway through it. So the original timeline I set up in last month's newsletter, which was, I believe, mid-November, I believe we'll be able to stick to that. So by mid-November, you'll have new aerial imagery in streets and parks and base maps up for Cook, DuPage, Will, Grundy, and even Lake County, Indiana in this instance. So that should be up by mid-November, and I'll notify everyone about that. As far as in the future with the base maps, I think what is just going to be a fairly good guideline, especially learning from what transpired with Cook County, is I think we'll probably give them every October, and then we'll be able to give it by November. Even though they were run in July, they actually don't essentially trim it how it needs to be trimmed to make base maps. They just have it like every few blocks there's a new tile. So you have to condense all that stuff, and they won't even get it until they're done doing that. So I think October will be as soon as we can do that every year. Yeah, we'll keep historical ones. And one of the things I want to aim toward, I just have to figure out where to store all this stuff at, is if you look at the city of Champaign web map and the application, they actually have it where you have a time bar, and you can actually go back in time and see how the areas look like every 2 years or so. That's what I want to aim toward. It's just memory space and catching. It's going to be a pretty interesting issue on that one. So I definitely think with that project that would have to be mid next year, because there's some other data concerns I want to take by the horns before I start getting to that. Then the other thing, and for the most part, some of the communities that were participating in this are here, but a lot of them aren't showed interest in this. The asset management, about a month ago, I sent out quotes to everyone, and then I sent out a survey essentially asking what the opinion was on it, and essentially the opinion was basically split 50-50 as to affordability and things of that nature. I talked with Megan over Cartograph, and it sounded like we would be able to negotiate with them, but I'm not exactly sure how to really negotiate it, because essentially I said what all communities have told me they wanted, and it sounds like there's still wiggle room. So if anyone has any suggestions, or essentially what is the top price that you're willing to pay for this, so I could get this to conclusion, please let me know, because I know with some of the municipalities, they only have a budget essentially for this calendar year. So that would be an issue. So does anyone have any comments on that? Yeah.
Well, your email from her shows that the ELA is only for new customers.
Yeah.
What about, what's going on with regards to existing customers? You're saying that there should be a different ELA?
Essentially, it would be an extension of the ELA, where, at least from what she told me, all you guys would have to cover is essentially the geodatabase connection, which if you, looked at the price on it, that was like 9,000 per community to get into our data. So there would be the 9,000, and then if you guys wanted to pursue any modules above what you have already, it would be, oh, okay, well then,
They have flex licensing.
Okay.
Flex licensing, what it does is allow you to, their licensing, I've got all the modules installed. And if I've, licenses in public works, 3 in the building department, and if we open 5 different applications in public works, we can use them regardless, we just use everything on the toolbox.
okay. Well, yeah, I mean, as far as, with, you guys and like Olympia Fields, because I know they have Paragraph as well, it should be merely an issue of the 9,000 for the geodatabase connection. And it has to, be something done on their end, because they don't allow us to do that initial connection. But that should be about the,
Well, that one I'm gonna have to question, because we already have we've been over version of ARC2, so we already have Geodata Connect.
okay.
So there should be no reason they can't redirect it to a different database. It's just a matter of pathway issues.
Well, I definitely agree with it. That's just what they were telling me. Cause I asked about that, cause I figured you guys already had that, since I know you did have a basic GIS over in Public Works. And from what she was communicating to me, every time you either move or add an additional data source, it's an additional 9,000. That's what was communicated to me on that. So, I mean, I could try to handle that if you want, or you could let them know as, well, but that's just what they were telling me. As far, and maybe you could provide some guidance on this too, as far as like with the other towns, how essentially did you negotiate your agreement with them? Because the thing I find interesting with them is it always seems like it's like a moving target, or I can't
They
really.
changed their licensing model during the history that we were with them. We started in, May of 2006 with work director, call director for basic work orders and, work requests. And in the following 2 years, they changed their licensing to, instead of buying it modular things, where you bought this module, you bought that module, they put the whole suite out there with flex licensing. And it was a different step, an increase on licensing for annual renewals, and we went with that. And as a result, it opened everything up to us, and we were able to start populating stuff under water, sewer, street lighting, so.
And I'm curious, the cost on that, was that, roughly what was approximately quoted, do you think, in that email she sent me, where it was like well, I mean, you guys.
I'd have to look
Okay.
back at the records and so forth. One of the things when we first started with them is they also offered a grant, and, it was a cut in pricing to start with. So we were able to start relatively inexpensive.
Okay.
Let me go back into the numbers on the back.
Okay, because that would greatly help as far as the other communities thinking about this. So I have somewhat of a target here. What do you think is the highest you can go on that, just so I know what I'm up against here?
What other towns were?
Well, I know Lansing was considering it at one point in time, as was Homewood, and then a ton of them are actually here, like Madison, Richton, Country Club.
Mike, can I toss that one in?
Yeah.
With our annual renewal for licensing, five Cardiflex licensing, and we've got mobile, one to go along with GPS units and stuff like that. Our renewal is right about 10,000. And the building department has licenses for what they're doing, and I believe their renewal is right about 4.
See, does it seem like we're saving money? I mean, doing this because we did talk to them individually, and we talked to her, it was sliding, back and forth. It was, hey, here's your price. And, oh, wow, that's too much. Okay, well, hey, we'll do this and this and this, and eliminate some licenses and stuff like that. But if we're talking about 50,000,
Well, yes, split between,
I mean,
the
that's,
8
and that was plus the fees and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
plus the other 50,000 initiation, plus the Geo database connect, and then,
You were thinking per town at this point. What were you thinking? The number
when,
would be?
when we started the conversation, I was starting to think per community, it was gonna be in the neighborhood of maybe like 12 to 13.
Yeah.
At this point in time, I'm starting to think it's gonna be near the 20 mark, starting. But again, they keep mentioning that they're willing to move around that price. I just need to know how to negotiate with them, because I need to know the top level I can max out on this thing at, so I'm not going out the bounds with it and wasting time, with them, so.
I guess if, I think when we were looking individually, we thought we could be in the door over there, at least on some limited basis for 20 grand or less.
Yeah.
That's what our thought was. So if we come to this, where we should be able to have, more buying power, whatever, and
Yeah.
we're still at 20, 30 grand or whatever, 20, 25, I mean, I don't know where the savings is.
I think what you're picking up is on functionality, because it's including within the ELA, they're offering mobile, they're offering YourGov, where residents can use that, phone, stuff like that, where those would be additional add-ons if we're doing any time. Policy value added.
Yeah.
There's components that I think maybe if we had it more at the table with breakdown, so people can see, if you did it yourself, this is what it would be, if you did it in consortium, here's the cost benefit, here's what you gain by it. So that this way, when we hand something like that to an alderman who's a decision maker, who has less knowledge than all of us in this room, they can trust us and say, well, I see this, I see that, I see you're getting more for this. Okay. It simplifies it. Keep it simple signing.
Okay.
Yeah, because, I mean, you just start now. I was probably gonna start the way you guys did. I thought maybe just start with the call manager thing and, kind of start slow. If we can get everything great, we'll start to jump in, but not if it starts to become more money, then if I kind of piece it,
Right.
I think that's where how I feel. I mean, I'm anxious to get started with one of them,
Yeah.
but,
And depending, how fast we public works on public works, where's our biggest thing to start with? It's not so much the mapping,
Yeah.
and what we got in the front end, was going to an electronic work order system that I could put Jane Doe's phone number in, and as soon as I put find citizen, boom, it populated all the fields for address, ward, jurisdiction on the street from her house, was it us or was it county, or this or that, and 6 weeks later, we got a complaint from the hall that we never responded to so-and-so. Okay. No, here's your request, here's the connection of work order, here's the work order information filled back in. We took the request on this day, 2 days later, the work was done, we had no other calls from the resident, even though they said they called 6 times.
exactly. I mean, that's where.
It gives us a defensible position of, here it is, it's black and white.
I think you were saying you guys had paper notes that would say, and that's where we're still at, and that's why I was just anxious that anything just to get past that.
And your typical little phone steno book where she pulls out the Kodiak stuff, and like you're sorting through that. Now you've got things to go back on. I mean, one of the first things that we dealt with, guys, there's no one there. Only pothole on the street, that's it. Hits it with the button, in the shadow of the tree, it falls. Within 10 minutes of the ambulance being there, I had a crew out, the hole was patched. And then subsequently, going back to the paragraph, well, what were your patching? We haven't done anything. We did a request back request. Went through it, pulled up all the records for patching for Larry and Amblin through the whole town. North and south, and through three different boards. We wrote it down just by property value, here's our request, here's the work that we've done, here's when we've done it. And contrary to what one resident was saying, we've never had a call when one's hitting 400 on anything on pothole in the last 3 years. And that was in 2009, going back to May of 2006. And I know that we patched it in 2005 for a 11 by 33 foot patch because I went through and pulled out the paper records, taking myself 6 hours going through the boxes in the storeroom to pull it up. As a result, we still paid a claim on it, but it was less than a third of the claim that we did. So, it helped.
Okay, well, what I'll do is I'll make this spreadsheet comparing the costs, and then since I do have an idea of at least what everyone wants, as well as like the, top crust of cost with that, I think it does give us now some ground where I can get back and maybe get a more concrete pricing mechanism on this, so we can get cooking at it, so.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my biggest thing from my perspective is just that if we're not saving money by trying to get it, I don't understand why we're not, I guess, you know. I know there's more into it for them, but they're also signing up, in communities, you know.
That's the what you do if you start having gone through this, and you're trying to spend time putting information, time into the map and stuff like this, where if you give the data sets to everybody here, or if you link into it, it's automatically doing it, they're taking it on the back, and you have GIS support. When it was just me trying to do everything,
Yeah.
you say, you know how it is, what doesn't come in, what do I get done? You know, you get 3:30, you guys go out the door, what didn't you get done this morning? It's the same thing. And it ends up being that this is more of that wasn't getting done. You know, as opposed to having GIS personal to your growth. Unfortunately.
Okay, well, I will, get back with them, and then I'll notify immediately everyone on that, cause I definitely wanna get cooking at it. Is there any other comments from anyone in general?
I've been working on an address map for Madison. I don't know if that's something, I think, what are they using in their building department? Fire department. So I don't know if any of you guys have outdated address maps and you're interested in possibly making a new one. Let me know. It's a little time consuming, but the way it would work is I put something together and you have to take some time and look at it and make sure that the addresses are right. And then, because I know the one for Madison, we found a lot of multi-family addresses were wrong or missing, and they've had new development, so Cook County hadn't created new streets for them, so we're working on that. But yeah, after a little bit of work, they'll have a brand new address map with all their new development and multi-family homes on it, and it'll be pretty beneficial for them. So that's something that what building, fire, planning department's interested in. Send me an email, I can talk about it, I can think it over.
And, just another note to add on to that, especially the address points, if there's any new or changing addresses, definitely, get that to us, cause slowly but surely, all of us have been going through and trying to correct address points across the county. Cause at this point in time, unofficially, the county basically has, I would say, given up and told us to do it. Yeah, yeah, cause I just had called Mary Jo over there, and they don't have the staff anymore, so I was basically told to go deal with it, so.
What data set are you updating the addresses in parcel data?
The address points, that's the main one, and then we've been going back after that, now we've done it with Madison, and we're gonna be doing it through other communities over time, but then I go back and do it with the parcels as well.
So
The
we have,
address points are where? In
The-
the interactive map.
we just haven't linked, do we have a joint parcel?
The address point was in base map, but I took it off because of the Madison issue, and then I'm putting it back in, but it's under base map.
Yeah,
So that would actually go directly to a property as opposed to.
Yeah,
right, so it'll be a point like in the middle of the parcel, whereas some of the other things are linked by the street.
Right, right, because that's one of the functionality things in the interactive web map. We would like to see different, when you search for an address,
Yeah.
it connects you to a point on the street as opposed to a property, which is not super helpful, say if you're an appraiser trying to figure out what the zoning is. And
Well, yeah, we definitely plan to move the geocoder in every house to the street address point. It's just at this juncture, what Cook County had versus what truly was out there was so screwed up. That's why we have it reading right now off the center line, which Ezra maintains us because it works. And with Cook County, I was running a geocoder, a test one, and it was actually coming up at like 50% accuracy. So, yeah, slowly we're going through all of them. So, if you have any new addresses or if anything was knocked down and properties are split with new addresses, Madison had this issue. Please get the spreadsheet to us so that way we can double check it. Another thing that I've been doing as well is there's essentially a firm that I also work at that does like municipal auditing where they come up like with giant spreadsheets of addresses because that's how they use it to get municipal electricity taxes and things like that. So I've been also cross-checking it with spreadsheets that they don't need as well, so that way we have something that's accurate. The other thing that address maps too, I've mentioned this before, but we also can print like 24 by 36s here now. We do actually have a commercial scale plotter. I have the link to it in the last two emails I sent. If you want to send any giant print documents, you can. It's $20 per 24 by 36. You can either email it to me and I'll print it. If you're ever here, you can even plug in a flash drive and it'll print right off that. Or it has an e-printer widget where you can print to it from your office and it'll pop up here. So, yeah, the address point thing is definitely a significant issue. It's gonna take time, but we are going on that. So, anything else?
On the addresses, we had some issues with our map and stuff like this on addresses. Can you run a report or a query and give me a table where it's showing inconsistencies with the addresses, such as with tax assessor versus our address map, and you can mark that correct in those?
Yeah, I could probably do that off the recent one I've been doing because I've been, now that I've been cleaning up the assessment data, I'm doing it to the cars.
Right.
So I can cross-check the ones off that and know what they do. These as well as the zero, because one thing I find fascinating with the county is, it seems like they only did 50% and anything after 2000, I don't necessarily think they ever mapped correctly. Because a lot of newer stuff in Madison, as well as some of the other communities, they just put a dot with a zero on it. Where it's just zero, even though there's actually an address there. So,
What about I mean, I know Lamont's had a lot of new construction
Yeah.
since 2000, 99% of it in Cook County, and our address information is pretty up to date, fairly accurate, particularly with the door stuff, but we don't get address point data from the assessor's office. We've always just gotten that table that we then join to the parcel data, and that's fairly accurate. So maybe they quit maintaining the point file and just started, just using the table that they joined to the parcels layer. So maybe that's something to look into.
And that's what I want to really compare. I was working last week on plotting out addresses for a grant application, 164 locations across 3 corner lots. And my address map was showing them as certain addresses, and they're not. They're actually the address in the cross street. So those are 3 corrections I know I had to make, and that's 3 out of 164. I know there's more like it.
yeah, there's a lot more.
It's one of those things I can work on when the guys are out plowing overnight,
Because one of the things I was cross-checking in the past was the address points versus the old assessor table I had before we got the new one, and it still showed the same inconsistencies as the address point. As far as Lamont being accurate, maybe they just like checked that part because yeah, because there have been sections around here that have really puzzled me to say the least.
Madison was really messed up.
So yeah, that is something we're working on. It's gonna take a long time, but we're doing it. Yeah. So, anything else?
We have buildings within all the county.
Well, Lamont and South Holland are getting to, but
Yeah, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question about the county zoning data
Yeah.
application.
Yeah.
So, maybe I didn't understand completely. Is it gonna be an interactive web map too?
yeah,
And will it include the incorporated areas as well?
yeah.
So this will be like a stripped down interactive web map strictly for zoning inquiries then?
Yeah.
But it'll include incorporated and unincorporated? That's great.
And
That's what we've been waiting for.
And not only that, and all that will be accessible through our web map. But in addition to that, when you click on the zoning, I've been helping them with this, but essentially when you click on it, it's also going to link back to the zoning ordinance.
And it'll do that for the incorporated areas too?
Yeah, because what they've
Like if they're in mini code or something?
yeah, what they've been doing is going around and getting the zoning ordinances and in cases where people didn't cooperate, Dennis and I have been, going and getting some. And, essentially when you go in that zoning app, you click on it and it'll just take you right to the zoning ordinance, whether it's in Muni code or PDF or on a napkin, which was one case, and,
When is that gonna be?
end of the year, because, I just helped them.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's all we have. If you have any questions, let's come by here and let me know, so.
If anyone wants to see anything done on the map.
Yeah. And the next meeting will probably be the end of, November, and that'll probably be a longer one, because I don't think we'll have a meeting at the end of December, because I tried that last year and like one person showed up, so I'll just put it as like a webinar or something if something important comes up, but, yeah. Yep. Yeah.
What's the status on health?
The metadata one, I'm about halfway through. The problem is that we have so many feature classes, it's taking forever.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, to get
Would it
the
be great to even just use the ones that are done and accessible, even if not all of them are there,
Yeah.
at least, you know,
Well,
after that was
no,
done.
actually, some of them are already. I mean, ones that I cross-checked, to make sure they conformed with the IEGIT standards.
Well, I clicked on it, but it just took me to like a password protected page, you know? Yeah,
I'm
so.
gonna fix that, because when we moved to Google,
Yes, that's what it does, like you have to type in your
Well,
username and password.
we'll fix that. One of the things that happens when I moved to Google Apps is for some reason it messed up all my passwords or stuff I had public facing and cut off in the cracks. I'll fix that.
Okay.
But, yeah, half of it's
Okay, that would
already
be
up.
great.
And then as far as the help goes, we have a help document up. Now, what I've been doing right now is and it should be up by next week. I've been actually filming like YouTube videos on how to do stuff. That should be up by the end of the week, and then we'll use a more grant money where we're actually building like this interactive iPhone, Android help book.
See, here's the thing, I think you guys do a great job getting all this data and everything like that. I think there's sometimes things fall a little bit, it's like, communication to the end user, maybe not so savvy.
Yeah.
You know, so like, the iPhone login stuff is also good for savvy users, but like, what if somebody just needs to know, should I type in street when I'm searching for an address, or should I leave street off, you know? Stuff like that, that's the kind of thing that I think is useful on the help, so to say, you know, and then, obviously there's features of it, and a lot of those are gonna be people using private. Maybe it's a different help from public versus private, you know? And then, so work orders, I really like that. The one request I would have is if you guys go for the, just need to get a contract of a sender of a work order.
Okay, I could program
different stints that I sent him, you know? So that would be nice.
Well, yeah, we implemented that because there's been so much stuff sliding our way
Oh,
that
sure, yes.
we were actually starting to miss stuff because stuff was getting sent to one person and that.
Oh, sure, yeah. No, I think it's great. I think that it's working out really well. That would just be my one suggestion. See,
Actually, none. With the
well, somebody
none with the exception of I think but everyone else.
Well, we do too.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I have an art editor license on my desktop.
I didn't know.
Yeah, so for those of us that do, it would be nice. I don't know how we can do this, but you know, like it would be nice to just be able to get all the data sets. And, you know, so I can put them in my
Oh, I gave
server.
that to you. The one the cloud.
Yeah.
It came in at like about 5 gigs.
Yeah, it was big. So, you know, it'd be nice to be able to do that, and then also, it was really trying to know what was what in there, you know? Like, when we would get data from the county, it would be like, you know, the cadastral data set, topography, you know, like stuff, stuff was grouped in some coherent way that made sense.
We tried doing it based on department.
As far as what agency you got it from? Or?
No, as far as like in the best way I could explain it is almost like a Chicago Heights thing, where stuff pertaining to like a housing department or a housing data set, infrastructures, public works plans, planning department, economic development.
Yeah. And I mean, that's okay, you know, but it would be nice to set up some like regular time that we could download those areas, you know, that kind of stuff. I think we just have to concentrate and all of that. It'd just be nice to be able to get annually a big sticky dump. Either put them on CDs and mail them to me, or you know what? I don't know if we'll be able to do it, you know, electronically.
I would be able to probably do that with everything except the new aerials, because the new aerials, in fact, I'm probably going to have to buy a new server to hold future ones, because our last batch of aerials are over 265 gigs. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty much wiped us out that way.
Yeah.
Once we get it working, so then you click administrative, and it comes right here, and then click on the thing, and then this is all the metadata.
Oh, perfect.
But you can see like, you know, why it's spread. It tends to be like up to standards for cookie and everything.
Well, not just that, but I mean, I was appointed at state GIS commission by Glenn, so I have to basically go according to all their standards on everything, which takes forever. So,
yeah, no, I get it. You know, it's just nice to know, like, if there's a vacancy, who they should be, where it's like from, or whatever, you know?
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for just really basic, like what the layer's coming from, you already have like an Excel document kind of thinking through that. We can send
Because, you know, I don't know where it's from.
where and, you know,
That's all I care about. Where did it come from? And what's, yeah.
and then the one thing I'm gonna need from you guys in the future is Will County just changed how they're doing things. So from now on, if you guys want any treasurer, recorder, assessor data, you're gonna have to request on an individual basis. And they try to charge us like $1,000. So yeah, it's gonna be an account basis.
We can do that. I hope they don't start messing with us. Like a tiny little, you know, before they were giving us like a quarter mile from Lamont's boundary, and they didn't even count anything where we're immediately adjacent to the Will Cook line. Only things that were actually in Will County. Yeah, Will County is like parcel data and everything. Like, that's how they used to do it. It was really awful.
I know. Just individually, starting to hear it, and I was like,
I do think there are real issues with regard to what data can be shared. Like, I know City of Chicago.
I thought you left my house.
I'm I'm sure their police ball data is specific to the location it's called to, but when you actually put it on their open data portal, is like blocked. You know, so I know there's legal issues there, and that's one of the things that we've struggled with in looking at putting our GIS information online, is like what private information, what's private and what's public. And our attorneys haven't even had like a great thought on it, so I don't know if it's something that's ever discussed at like the GIS.
Well, I mean, actually
Association.
it has, because Chris had an FOIA meeting, and then, they had a meeting about that when I went to the statewide GIS council.
Oh, yeah.
The rule of thumb is you don't post infrastructure, and then the other thing is for private residents, you don't post it. You don't post anything like that, or like any sound, like, I would say cost that could be like almost like traced to the person. So if you take out those things, it seems to pass the sniff test.
So those would be the things that would be helpful to us.
Uh-huh.
You know, if you want us to provide
Yeah.
data for the open
Yeah.
data portal, you know, either let us know that, or let us know that you guys are gonna scrub the data of those
Oh, yeah,
things,
well,
you know.
we'll
I'm
definitely.
sure there has to be some kind of document online where they can provide a bit clear description of what should be posted.
Yeah, there's really not, like, the state of Illinois is terrible for telling you, like, what should be publicly available and what shouldn't. That's why I was hoping maybe some of your professional association meetings have discussed it.
A lot of my public work is done in Indiana, and they have a really advanced greenhouse, and it's broken really nicely, and, you know, you can look at the sections and see what kind of data they've added,
Okay.
and I mean, it's always good to look at other web
The only
parts of
reason I
greenhouses,
think they
because
charge
one,
quite good for this,
like
is
with ours,
the
it's
number of
still
modules,
early in
which
its
I
inception,
understand
it's
the
slowly
board,
evolving.
but I'm not
Clearly,
appreciative
it's not
of
user
it.
friendly, I know this,
Right,
and I know GIS, I can't imagine some HP,
right.
but that's one of my, like, one of the greatest greenhouses, which is surprising, because I wouldn't imagine Indiana to be so advanced with their GIS, but they are.
Tell me
You know
what
what
you
it
think
seems
I
that I
should try.
find is that a lot of times less
So,
populated
I would
areas
say
are
that
actually
that we
more
can
advanced
go
in their
at is
GIS
like around
applications than we are. Like, I think
Yeah.
downstate Illinois has
I'm
a
gonna
lot
try
more
to
going
keep
on
it down to that
in some
level.
cases with their
And I'm gonna try
GIS
to
than,
do it
you
soon,
know, the
because I
communities
know
up here.
Yeah, well, this is great though, because
Oh, I
I've been
agree.
looking for building footprints for LA County, this is for my own personal project. And they have, you know, they have a nice clearing house, but it's, they won't share that information.
Yeah.
And I've tried numerous ways, and they just won't, and it's very annoying when
Maybe I'll be at the same
Yeah.
house to get everything.
access information.
Well, I think
Well,
that's
I
what's
think
great
it's possible to get
about
everything, but
this
my,
project.
I just need
is
to know what
push
the
Cook
roof
County's
was.
door
Because the
open
problem is
to
now
data
I
sharing,
can't say
you
what
know.
the roof
Even
costs,
as a
so-
municipality, in with so many
Well,
restrictions on data, they would only give it to us once a year. It was never really completely up to date. We couldn't share it with anybody without getting them to sign a letter and Cook County to approve it. You know, even if it was a consultant working directly for us, you
Yeah,
know.
I mean, that's often the case too with municipalities, you know, like asking them for asking one of the most impossible, you know, things you can imagine, like,
Yeah, well, I think they get, especially Cook County, they get kind of intimidated because the county is so protective of it.
yeah.
You know, if they don't know, you know, they're like, well, is this ours, is it the county's to give, you know, and then even if it is ours, if the county's so protective of their stuff, shouldn't we be concerned about ours too, you know?
Yeah.
It's a terrible cycle, you know, and I think this has kind of broken that to some
Yeah.
extent because Cook County is being much more associated than they ever have.
Yeah, it's just hard to update everything, and then when you're getting vehicles so many fronts, I mean, like again, one of the things that I will push is, you know, the field.
I mean,
And
that's
that will
what
help
I
nicely with the
I
metadata.
wasn't gonna
You know,
let her
then
do
you
that,
can
and
see
she
the
doesn't.
grass field names.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah,
try and
I
take a
just-
strong
When you create new
position
fields,
and see how they play out,
only have
but
like 7
what I'm
characters,
telling
so
them
Right.
represent municipalities,
is that if
which
she
is filled
continues
out.
to mess
So
with
once
me,
it's
they
done
continue
and
mess with
imported,
it, then
then you
I
can,
mean,
edit
I appreciate the
fields.
Right,
or
right.
So, it's a daunting task, but it must be
But
done.
they're gonna
Yeah.
keep messing
It-
with
it-
things
yeah.
that
Many
they
of the
should
things
just
that
play
I
over
see
the
in what matters annoying.
So at that point, I think I'm
Just
just like go
because
sit
I,
here,
you know, I'm very
because we
passionate
can
about
go do that
GIS.
with the county
And
and like a way lower.
I know
price.
everything
Yeah.
about GIS.
Because the
I
county
can
has
see.
about 200
Like, for my
projects
engineering
in the
group,
city.
So it wasn't
I
GIS
talked with
that
them and they were talking,
led to my,
there's something like a
appointment
40% discount.
Yeah.
it was my
So
other skills,
they
but
continue
I
events
tried
with
with
me, and I
GIS
think that's
and
gonna be the
I've
next
done a few
step.
projects.
I just feel like
They don't understand how much
even
time
as
and
leverage,
they get
I
pissed
feel like
off.
you
And
talk to whoever, I mean,
Yeah.
this is how long it takes.
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
right. It is,
When
it's
somebody
very
came
time
up with
consuming.
me,
I know, I mean, I've been
the
using
county's using this.
GIS for 7
You
years.
just steer everybody in that
Yeah,
direction, just
you
because
know,
you're
I-
gonna come up here, you guys are gonna be.
I've had those
competitive or not.
experiences where you're
Like
working
I
on big
even
data
know the
sets and your
business
computer just freezes up,
manager about
and, you
all
know,
those switches.
that's it, you're done, just because.
Yeah.
I sent
Computer
him this
can
and
handle
I-
it.
I
Yesterday,
sent
I'll give you one last example.
It's the same thing all over.
So I had, you know, normally like had data.
You're there to find some assistant to
Oh, this was a nice.
I mean, yeah, it's a big company, right? I mean,
And
it seems like
you want to align it to.
Oh, yeah.